Okay, today actually we will learn about EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. But before that, let's see if it's being recorded or not. Uh, yeah, it should be recorded, right? Pause recording. Stop. Yeah, it's getting recorded. Okay, so I'm in the AWS management console right now. What about? So I will directly go to EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. So EC2 actually we can create our instance. That means server using EC2. So if I go inside EC2 management console, then at first we will see something like this. So here actually it tells us, it gives us the information, the overall information about what we already have created in this console right now. So I have created 3 security groups. I have 2 snapshots. I have one volume, one PPR, but okay, I have snapshots, but why do I have 2 snapshots? Yeah, okay, let's go to the instances first and see what we have right now. Okay, I will just at first delete those snapshots. By a different AMI. Okay, these snapshots are being used by a different AMI. Okay, okay, got it. I think, yeah, this AMI. So I have to deregister it. I have to deregister this also. And then I can delete the snapshots. So, okay, there I deleted the snapshots. So now in this EC2 dashboard, I don't see any snapshots. So I will start from here, the instances. So here from here, if I click here, then if I go inside, then here you can see that these are my instances actually. One of them is stopped. That means if I want, I can still launch it right now because it's been stopped. And the other 3 are terminated. So I cannot launch them again. So let's go ahead and launch our EC2 instance. So if I hit launch instance, okay, now I am here. The first thing that I need to do is to choose an Amazon machine image. So Amazon machine image is actually, it means actually whether we want to use Linux or we want to use Red Hat or Ubuntu, which one of Microsoft, etc. So which one actually we want to use. So this machine image actually, it has that configuration, right? The like what type of operating system are we going to use, something like this. So for the time being, and here on the left side we can and see my AMIs. If I click here, then actually this my AMIs means you can create your own AMIs if you want, but I did not create any AMIs. This is the AWS marketplace. So in AWS marketplace is it's like it's a marketplace. You can buy uh, you can create your own AMIs or something like this, and you can actually put them in the marketplace, and if someone else, if they want it, then they can buy them. Also you can buy uh, them from here from the AWS marketplace, a lot of things. And community AMIs. So community, uh, if you want, then you can use this community AMIs also. So here from community AMIs, you can see a lot of options. So basically, as we're just starting learning Ec2, so we will use this quick start button. I mean, yeah, this option, and then from here we will use try to use anything that's included in the free tier, right? So this Amazon Linux 2 AMI, this is, we can see here that it's included in free tier. So we'll just select it. Let's hit select. And the next thing is instance type. So what type of instance actually we want to use? So there are a lot of instance types. We can see, if you scroll down, that you see a lot of instance types. So these instance types actually, it's like different instance types. If you see here, this is this T2 micro. It has only one virtual CPUs, and if you use T2 medium, then it has two virtual CPU, and the memory is 4 GIP. So yeah, that's what actually instance type does. So if something like this, if you want to have more virtual CPUs, if you want to have more memories, then you can choose a better uh, instance type that will actually provide you with whatever you are wanting. So as we are in the free tier, we want to use something included in the free tier. So we will select T2 micro. And the next thing is hit configure instance details. So this is very important here. Number of instances. So how many instances we want to create at the beginning? We can put it here. So initially we want to create just one instance. That's why one is here. If you want, you can put, you can create two, you can create three at the same time. And the next option is purchasing option. So if you want here, then you can actually select request the esport instance. So definitely, if you don't have any idea about esport instance, then what is this esport instance? Actually, if we use by default, if I don't select it, then this instance will be an one demand EC2 instance. So one demand EC2 instance means actually, it's a like a bit pay as you, it follows the pay as you go model. So whatever you are using, you will only pay for that. It's something like this. But if you use esport instance, then it will actually provide you up to 90% discount of the one demand price, up to 90% discount. And this discount actually depends. It actually depends. Suppose Amazon has a lot of okay, about what it is called. Uh, okay, suppose they have a lot of resources available already that customers are not using. So they want to actually sell them, right? They want to sell them to the customers. So if you use esport instance, then you can actually, and when Amazon is actually selling them, they will definitely give discounts because they are being remaining unused. So they want to give discounts so that customers buy them, customers use them. So you can utilize it, you can take avail of that opportunity, and you here you can actually bid your price. But you are saying that okay, I want to pay $50. I want to pay $50. I'm just talking something like this. I'm making it easier for you. So suppose you are saying I want to pay $50. So when After giving the discount, the price will be less than $50 or at least $50. Then you can use this. But if the price goes above $50, then your instance will stop. You cannot use that service. So definitely you can understand that you can use this spot instance when there will be no requirement that your instance should be running all the time. It's like, okay, it's running now, but if I stop it after 2 hours, I don't have any problem. Then after 4 hours, I will again start it. So in that case, you can use this spot instance. Then next one is network, VPC, virtual private cloud. So we did not learn about virtual private cloud yet. Actually, if you want to provision your EC2 instance, launch your EC2 instance, then you have to do it in, you have to launch it in a virtual private cloud, using a virtual private cloud. So by default, for each of the region, there will be a default VPC. And we are in the North Virginia region right now. So this is the default VPC in the North Virginia for my account. And okay, here we can see we don't have any other VPC right now because I did not create any other VPC. I am using that default VPC. But if you want, then you can definitely go and create the VPC. We will learn that later. And the next one is subnet. So subnet actually, it's actually a range of the IP addresses that we will actually use in this VPC. So if you click here, then we have a lot of options here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 subnets. So whichever, if you want, then you can actually select any of them, or you can just select no preference, so that you will use the default subnet in any availability zone. Here, one thing is very important to understand, that the subnet, one single subnet, one specific subnet can be in a single availability zone. That means one subnet cannot span multiple availability zones, but one availability zone can have multiple subnets. The next one is auto assign public IP. Okay, so here we see by default use subnet setting. It is selected by default. So what is this actually, use subnet setting? Enable, what does it mean? It means as we are using it, so after launching this EC2 instance, we will be automatically assigned a public IP before address. So what does it mean actually? If I click here, if I go to VPC, virtual private cloud, then your VPC, we got our default VPC here. Okay, and then we were talking about the subnet. So if you click subnet, okay, then here we can see all of these is subnets, and here the VPC ID, this is the VPC ID, VPC F1C2978B. If you click here again, this VPC ID, VPC F1C2978B. That means all of these subnets are for our default VPC. And if we go to the right side, then you can see it says what to assign public IPv4. I'm sorry. Okay, what to assign public IPv4 address? Yes, that means it's enabled, right? So that's what we are using here. So if I want, then I can actually disable it, right? Also, what I say, public IPv4 address, I can disable it. So if it is disabled, then if I use the subnet setting, then the disable will show up here. So in that case, our instance will not be actually mm, assigned any public IPv4 address. So if you click here, you will see some other options like enable, disable. So enable and disable, these two are for this specific uh, EC2 instance. Whatever the settings of this subnet is. So what it means actually, if you hit disabled, then what does it mean? We are this EC2 instance will be actually launched in this VPC, our default VPC. Our default VPC says we will be automatically assigned public IPv4 address. But here, while launching this EC2 instance, we are saying that auto assign public IPv4 address is disabled. That means we don't want uh, and we don't want it to automatically assign any public IPv4 address. So just select it, disable, and then if you review and launch this instance, okay, select a keep here. I will show you later on what it is. I'm just launching this instance for the time being. Okay, now the instance state is still pending. So it is going to actually take a few seconds. As we disable the auto assign public IPv4 address, then we will not actually be assigned any public IPv4 address automatically. So we can see it here. Let's refresh it. Yeah, it's running now. If you click select it here, then on this side IPv4 public IP, we don't see any public IP address here, right? Because we actually disabled it. That's why we don't see it. Even though in the VPC, this option is enabled, but we cannot actually get any IPv4 address because for this specific IPv EC2 instance, we disabled it. So from here, if we want to, as we launched an EC2 instance, if we want to actually terminate it, how will we terminate? Just select it first, then go to action, then instance state, after that hit terminate, and then click on yes, terminate. Okay, so yeah, it's shutting down right now. So now we are actually in the middle of launching the EC2 instance. So we will actually, I am showing you uh, different things one by one. That's why actually I will I will launch the EC2 instance without actually configuring all the details. Okay, so that you can understand what is going on. So let's go click configure instance details again, and I just showed you, right, the auto assign public IP, what this option means. So the next thing is placement group. We will actually talk about placement group later. Capacity reservation. So capacity reservation, we will talk about it later. And IAM role, you definitely know what IAM role is. We did not, we right now actually we don't have any IAM role. We did not create any IAM role for EC2 instance, right? And so in the IAM class, I showed you how to create the role. So if so actually if we create any IAM role, then we can attach the IAM role to this EC2 instance, and then based on the permission of that role, this EC2 instance can take any perform any actions on EC2 on other resources actually. So the next thing is shutdown behavior. So shutdown behavior actually it can be the stop or terminate. This shutdown behavior actually means is the this shutdown should be actually done from a operating system. level. What it says, specify the stress behavior when an operating system level shutdown is performed. We'll talk about it later. Then we don't want to talk about it now. We will talk about enable termination protection. So what is this? So this termination protection means if you actually select it, then it says protect against accidental termination. Uh, that means after launching the EC2 instance, as we are actually enabling in a termination protection, we cannot directly terminate the EC2 instance like what we just did a few seconds ago. Okay, we have to do something else. So what do we need to do? If you by default this termination protection is not enabled, keep it in mind. But if we select it, we are actually enabling the termination protection. Then we will see what's going on. Then review and launch. After that, just launch the instance, view instance. Okay, let it launch first. Or still, if I select it, yeah, there you go. Here we can see for the last instance, for this instance, we did not get any IPv4 address, right? But for this instance, the public IPv4 address has been automatically assigned because this option was selected. So we are talking about this instance now. For this specific instance, the termination protection is enabled. So in this case, if we want to terminate the instance, then what will happen? Click on terminate. Then this option is not here actually. We cannot actually select it. We cannot click on it actually because the termination protection has been enabled. So in this case, if I want to terminate this instance, then how will we do it? Select this EC2 instance, click on actions. Then after that, go to instance settings. Then from here, click on change termination protection. And from here, disable the termination protection. Okay, so now that the termination protection is disabled, we should be able to terminate it. Go to EC2 instance state, click on terminate, and here we can right now click on terminate. And if we click terminate, okay, refresh it. Okay, I click on terminate and is shutting down right now. So now let's go and see what other options we have. Actually, hit select and hit configure instance details, and we just saw termination protection. Now, what is monitoring? Monitoring actually it monitors the performance. It monitors the performance. If we enable monitoring, then actually the performance of this EC2 instance will be monitored. So what does this performance means? We will actually understand it after launching the EC2 instance. I will show you now what is this monitoring means actually. So here by default CloudWatch, we will actually use CloudWatch to monitor the performance of our instance. So we will learn about CloudWatch later on, but just remember that the basic CloudWatch monitoring is enabled by default. But if we want to enable the detailed monitoring, then we can do it here. Detailed monitoring means after every 1 minute, it will show us the updated information. But this detailed monitoring is not free actually. We have to pay. And the next thing is tenancy. So tenancy, right, it says shared. Shared means we are actually using a shared hardware instance. But if we want, then you can also select dedicated instance. If you want, you can select dedicated hosts. So they actually are more expensive. If you say, if you just suppose if you select dedicated host, then actually you will be given a dedicated server that only you will use, no one else will use. Okay, you will use that dedicated server if you select dedicated host. So you can use dedicated host in some cases, like when you have you are actually using something, you are actually using some applications, but those applications cannot be, by law those applications cannot be actually used in a shared environment. So in that case you have to use dedicated host because that's not shared. So now I will not talk about it. I will not talk about T2 T3. Yeah, okay, these are the advanced details. Here one thing is important that I want to talk: user data. If you want, then you can use some user data, like you will, it's like a code. If you you will put some code here, you will, and then after that actually this EC2 instance will also follow the instructions of that code. So the next thing is add storage, and here in the storage we can use either EBS volume, elastic block storage volume, or instance storage volume. So instance storage volume means, just remember, instance storage volume means it's actually it's like an in memory in memory storage. Okay, so whenever, yeah, it's an in memory storage. So here we are actually using EBS volume here. This is the root volume, and it's a size volume type. There are different volume type: provision, IOPS, magnetic, general purpose SFT. Okay, so here one thing is important, that is this delete on termination uh, option. So by default the EBS root volume will be deleted if we terminate the EC2 instance. So if I keep it there, if I select this option, if I enable it, delete on termination, and if I review and launch, just remember we have a root volume here. So in this case, if I review and launch, and if I launch it, okay, if I launch it, go to volume, yeah, and in the volume, this is the root volume for this EC2 instance that I just launched. This EC2 instance. But if I terminate this EC2 instance, that actually that root volume should not be there, because by default it should be deleted. So I'm terminating this EC2 instance. If I go to volume again, then okay, it's not, the EC2 instance is not still terminated. Okay, it's shutting down. Okay, there's EC2 instance is terminated. So if I go to the volume here, then we can see we have only one volume here. But previously, when that EC2 instance was not terminated, when we launched it, we saw 2 volume, right? So now we will see if we don't actually, okay, let's go there. Okay, now by default it will be deleted, but if we just untick it, then what will happen? Just review and launch this instance, and then we will terminate the EC2 instance, and then we will see actually whether the our root volume is there or not. Okay, we can see this volume here right now. It should be here because that EC2 instance is launching. But if we actually terminate this EC2 instance, we still should be able to see that volume, right? Because the delete on termination has been disabled. So let's give it some time to terminate, and then we will see whether we still have that EBS volume over there or not. Yeah, now that this EC2 instance is terminated, let's go to the volume section. Okay, we still can see this volume, but the state is available because, yeah, definitely it's not in use because the EC2 instance has been terminated, but it's still available for use because the delete on termination was disabled. So now you know what it means actually, right? Now if you want to we just don't want to keep this EBS volume here like this, right? Because we already provisioned it, so we'll be charged. So we want to actually delete it. So select it, go to actions, and then delete volume because we don't need this. So let's go to instance and let's go ahead and hit launch again, and we will see some other options. Select, configure, and details, add storage. So we just saw what happened if we enable and disable it. So if you want, you can add more EBS volume, and in this case keep in mind that the other EBS volumes that you are provisioning, they are by default, they are not deleted. By default they are not deleted, but this root volume is deleted by default when the EC2 instance is terminated. So this is the difference between it. But I'm not going to actually use more root volume. Okay. So now we are done with it. Next go to add tags. So tags, what is tags? Yeah, tags will help us a lot. We can tag is actually a key value pair. So you can, if you click add tag, so key value pair means suppose one key is name. So if we use name here, and then if we give it a name, the value is like, suppose, okay, experiment. I'm just giving it a name, experiment. Okay, so if I use this, the key is name and value is experiment. If I use this tag, then what will happen actually? Let's review and launch the instance. Okay, now view instances. Yeah, there you go. We can see the name experiment here. So we can very easily understand for what purpose we launch this EC2 instance. So if you want, then you can use a lot of different other tags, right? In the EC2 instance. So let's just terminate this EC2 instance and we will see something else. Yes, terminate. Okay, now launch another EC2 instance. Select, configure instance details, add storage, Add tags, we already saw what it means. Then configure security group. It's important to understand, because security group is the firewall. Security group is a firewall. We can add rules there, like the what you can see here. We already have one rule. The type is SSH. That means we can SSH into our EC2 instance. The protocol is definitely SSH, that TCP protocol, right? And the port is definitely 22. We know that. And source, or is the source? Source is actually the origin of the traffic. Origin means from where actually the traffic is coming to this EC2 instance. So the source, if we use 0.0.0.0/0, if you are familiar with networking, then you definitely know what it means. But if you are not familiar with networking, then what I'm saying, that it means all the IP address, all the IP address in the whole world are actually eligible to SSH into our EC2 instance. It's something like this. And we have some other options. Okay, anywhere is also free. Okay, in custom, yeah, in custom actually we can select, okay, yeah, we saw, we can use CIDR. The source can be a CIDR. The source can be a specific IP address. The source can be other security group. And if you hit anywhere, so anywhere means actually all IPv4 and IPv6 address. If you hit my IP, then only I can SSH into this EC2 instance from my IP. So normally it's much better to use custom, so that I can actually specifically say which IP address will be allowed and which CIDR range will be allowed, or which security group will be allowed. You will learn about it more later on. So for the time being, I will just use 0.0.0.0 IPv4 address, all the IPv4 address of the world. And if you want, then you can add more rules. Like for this rule only allows the SSH connections. And suppose we want to actually enable the ICMP traffic, okay, to ping, like from our EC2 instance, we want to ping the ping Google, okay. So we must enable the ICMP traffic, right? So just don't do it right now, because I want to show you exactly what happens. For the time being, okay, it says here, create a new security group or select an existing security group. If you already have created a security group, then if you want, you can definitely use one of them, or if you want, you can create a new security group. Okay, so let's suppose we want to create a new security group. So let's give it a name, experiment, and here let's give it a name. The description is experiment. Whatever you want to use, you can put it here, no problem. So we are only allowing SSH into this security group. Now hit review and launch. Then we can review all the details here. Now if you hit launch, then here it will actually, we have to actually create key pair. So what is that key pair? We can actually use that key pair if you want to, when we will actually get, I mean, want to access our EC2 instance using, suppose we want to use party. So from any command line interface, from any SDK, if you want to access our EC2 instance, then we will have to use it. So I have already created a key pair, but I will show you how to create the key pair, how to use it. So I will create a new key pair, okay? And let's just give it an experiment. And you definitely need to download this key pair, okay? Otherwise you won't be able to access it. So download key pair and save it. Okay, now launch this EC2 instance. So yeah, when this EC2 instance is being let, okay, let's okay, we can, if you want, you can actually uh, put a name from here also. Just click here and let's give it a name, experiment, and then click here. Okay, now this is our EC2 instance. When it is being launched, let's show you where our I mean, okay, key pair is actually. Okay, this is experiment.pem. This is the private. Uh, okay, dot, yeah, experiment.pm. Now, if I actually what I need to do, I will use party. Okay, I will use party so that I can actually convert it into a .ppk uh, file, and using that file, actually, I will authenticate and then log into my EC2 instance. So if you use party, so you have to install, definitely install party, and then party gen. Okay, I will use party gen because we need to use party gen, right? After that, when you will use party gen, let's do it like this. Yeah, party gen, then load, you can see load an existing private key file. So load an existing private key file. Now if you go to download, no, what is that? .ppk, that's not .ppk. Let's select all files and use this experiment.pm. Okay, now what is a successfully imported foreign key? Yeah, now we imported it, and there we imported that this .pm file. After that, if you want, then you can actually use a passphrase. So passphrase actually, okay, let's just give it a passphrase so you'll understand what it is. It's like a password, okay? It's like a password. So I am giving. Okay, I'm giving it a password. Now I will have to save it. So if you hit save public key and give it a name experiment and then hit save. Now go to that folder. Where is it? Oh, okay. I think it should be private key, right? Save private key. Yeah. Now give it a name experiment and hit save. Okay. Yeah. There you go. You have to select save private key. Okay. Now just close it. Okay, now we created a .ppk file, and we will open party right now, and using party we will actually log into our EC2 instance. So in the host name, we have to, here the port is 22, right? Because we are actually SSHing into our EC2 instance. So the port name should be 22. Now in the host name, okay, I can actually show you one thing, right? This is our EC2 instance. For this EC2 instance, we created a security group. What was the security group? Okay, that security, this is experiment, this security group. So if you click on this security group, okay, then the inbound rule is SSH. That means our EC2 instance is allowing SSH. So if I edit inbound rules, then if I just delete it, okay, I'm deleting it and save rules. Then you know what it means actually? It means This security group, I mean, this our Ec2 instance was previously allowing SSH connection, but right now our Ec2 instance is not allowing any connection. Okay, but we want to actually SSH into our Ec2 instance, right? So let's see if we can SSH into it or not. We should not be able to do it because SSH is not allowed here. So how we will do it? Here we need the host name. So what is the host name? If you select it, then here public DNS, you can use this public DNS. If you want, you can use this public IP address, whichever you want. So paste it here. The port is 22. That means we want to actually SSH. Now you will click here, SSH, or click here, this plus sign. Now click on what? Yeah, click on what? Then here it says private key file for authentication. So we have to actually import that .ppk file. So browse it. I will go to download. Yeah, here you go. We just created it, right? Experiment.ppk. So I'm importing it. Now if I hit open, then let's see actually what happens. We should not be able to SSH into it, right? Uh, Network error, connection timed out. Yeah, connection should time out because SSH is not allowed. But let's go to our security group, this experiment security group, go to it. And then in the inbound rule, edit inbound rule and add rule, we will allow SSH. So if you type, okay, now select SSH, then the source is, okay, just select anywhere. Then save rules. Now SSH has been allowed, SSH connections from any IP address. Do you see anything here? Yeah, SSH has been allowed, right? Just close it. Let's open party again. We already, copied the host name, right? I pasted it again here. The port should be 22 because you want to SSH into it. Then click on SSH, then what? Then browse and import that experiment.pdf file. Then open. Oh, there you go. Now we should be able to do it. Yeah, it shows a security alert. Don't worry about it. Just hit yes. And now it says login as. Okay, so in login as, we definitely need to use. Yeah, what is the username for this Linux instances? Or no, username or Linux AWS. Okay, default. What is the default username? Amazon Linux, the default username is EC2 user. Yeah, so we can just use EC2 user here, and then if I just hit enter button, okay, from my keyboard, and then passphrase. So passphrase, what is the passphrase? We just put the passphrase, right, where we actually using the partition here, using the partition we imported our file, and then we used a passphrase, right? So here in this case we have to use the same passphrase. So I'm putting that passphrase here and hit enter. Okay, now there you go. We can see we are in the EC2 instance right now. So now from here, we as we are using Linux, so we can use some Linux commands, right? We can use clear to clear everything. If we use ls, that means list everything, so we can see whatever we have. We don't have anything, right? If we use ls minus there, so we can see, yeah, we can see the hidden files also. Okay, yeah, we have some hidden files, so clear them. So there we go, we logged into our ec2 instance. So now if we want to ping Google, then let's see what happens. www, oh sorry, dot google.com. Can we ping? Yeah, ping www.google.com. Yeah, from here we are actually able to ping it. Okay, let's try to ping www. Okay, my own website, dot yes. Yeah, from here I can ping my own website also. So there you go. Now we show actually how we can log into our ec2 instance. So now hit instances. So we just launched our ec2 instance. Now we will learn actually something else. If you click here instance type, then I just told you there are different instance types, right? I just told you where if you want, you can, if you choose this instance type, then you will get 16 virtual CPU. If you choose this instance type, you will get 8 virtual CPU. It's something like this. You can use a launch template to launch your ec2 instance, but for that you have to actually create a launch template. So in the launch template, actually, if you click on create launch template, then you can create a launch template here. So right now, we don't want to go into details of that. We'll see something else. We already talked about esport instance, and this reserved instance. What is this reserved instance? We can actually, if we want, then we can reserve instances. We can purchase reserved instances. So if we purchase reserved instance, then there are actually a few type of reserved instance. There are a few types of reserved instance. Can you see them here actually? Yeah. See, we can see here convertible and standard, but there's another reserved instance that's actually called scheduled reserved instance. So standard reserved instance. Standard reserved instance, actually we can get up to 75% discount of our I mean on demand pricing. But for if you use a standard reserved instance, then you cannot actually change the instance type. And then comes convertible reserved instance. So if you use convertible reserved instance, then we will actually get 54%, up to 54% discount of the on demand pricing. And in convertible reserved instance, actually we can change the instance type if we want later on. And then comes the scheduled reserved instance. So scheduled reserved instance, actually, but we cannot change basically anything like the instance type. We cannot change it. And the scheduled reserved instance we will actually use like when we want to use the reserved instance on a daily basis. Okay, like suppose. So you keep in mind that if something like this, if any question comes in the examination that you want to use the reserved instance on a daily basis for 5 or 6 hours, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, then you have to use that scheduled reserved instance. And the term can be 1 month to 12 months, 12 months to 36 months. So basically, the term can be range from 1 year to 3 year actually. And the payment options, we have a few payment options. No upfront. That means you don't want to pay anything upfront. Partial upfront. Suppose the total price is $100. You want to pay $50 now. You want to pay $50 later on. While upfront, you want to pay $100 at the beginning. Okay, so if you use this payment option while upfront, then you will get the most discount, most amount of discount. So if you want to have more discount, then you can use it. Now, dedicated host, we just talked about a dedicated host. It's a dedicated server for your use, and you will actually use dedicated host for cases like when you are actually running some applications that cannot use shared environment because of some rules and regulations. So you have to use dedicated hosts. And scheduled instance, those scheduled reserved instance, I already talked about it. Capacity reservations, if you want, you can also create capacity reservation like in a specific availability zone, and whenever you want, you can launch your EC2 instance into the specific availability zone. So now that, yeah, the next thing is AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Amazon Machine Image right now, actually, we don't see any machine image here because we didn't actually create any machine image. And the volume, elastic block storage volume, yeah, we still got here to volume. So yeah, because we have EC2 instances running already. That's why we can see them. Now, snapshots, what is the snapshot? Actually, snapshot is like a backup. Snapshot is like a backup. So you can take a snapshot of volume. So like suppose we have our EC2 instance here, experiment, and the corresponding volume is this volume. Let's give it a name, experiment. Now, if you hit action, then actually from this volume, you can create a snapshot. Okay, then now give it a name, experiment snapshot, and it's not encrypted. By default, it's not encrypted. Okay, now create the snapshot and close it. Okay, so if I now go to snapshots, then we will see that our snapshot is being created. If you want, you can, okay, you can give it a name, experiment snapshot. Okay, now that we created a snapshot, using this snapshot, what we will do? The status is still pending. It's going to take some time. Let's refresh it again. Yeah, Now it's completed. Here we can see the snapshot. If you expand it, then we can see the basic configuration of our snapshot. We hit permission. This snapshot is currently private. Okay, now select this snapshot and hit action. And from that snapshot, if you want, you can create another volume. So what happened, from this volume we created this snapshot. Now from this snapshot, if we want, we can create more volumes. Okay, we can create more volumes, and using that volume I will show you. Let's go to this volume again. Let's select it again. So we could only create our snapshot. Now we created this snapshot. From this snapshot, create another volume. And after that, when you will create a volume, we are not talking about changing all this volume type and size, etc. But one thing, when you will create another volume, if you want, then you can encrypt the new volume. We don't want to encrypt that, just hit and create a volume. Okay, now if you go to, from this snapshot we created a volume, if you go to this volume, then we will see this volume is available for use. So from this snapshot we created this volume, and this volume is available to use. So just give it a name, volume from snapshot, volume from snapshot. So this volume is available for use. Now from this, using this volume, what else we can do? If you hit action, then if you see it, you can see attach volume. Attach volume means if you hit it, then see, we can use an instance, and then after that we can actually attach this volume to that instance. So we have one instance running experiment. If we want to attach, yeah, now hit attach, and there you go. Now we can see it's in use. So what we just did, from our EBS, from this EBS volume we created this snapshot. That means from an EBS volume we can create a snapshot. Snapshot is a backup, and from a snapshot we created a volume. That means from a snapshot we can create a volume, and we can attach this volume with other Ec2 instance. Okay, now one more thing. So from volumes we can only create snapshot. From volumes we can only create snapshot. And let's go to the snapshot. From snapshot we can, if we want, we can create volume, we can create image. Image means this AMI, machine image. So if you give it a name, AMI experiment, give it a description, AMI experiment. Then after that, if you want, you can add more volume. I just don't want to add more volume. I will just create an AMI. Okay. Create image request received. Okay. If you go to AMI, okay, now we can see the AMI. This AMI is here. AMI experiment. experiment, we just created this AMI. The status is available, and from that AMI we can actually launch an EC2 instance. You can also see some actions: launch, register, deregister. So if you, okay, I will show you what deregister it. If you want, you can actually, okay, you can launch an EC2 instance using this AMI. So I'm going to launch an EC2 instance using that AMI. Configure instance details, add storage, add tags, add configure security. Let's just use the default security group, review and launch, then launch. Let's use experiment, launch instance. Okay, so now we can see experiment. I'm just giving it a name, experiment copy. So we saw that we created our AMI, and then from that AMI we launched a new EC2 instance. So if we want, then we can actually, using this is AMI, we can actually launch an EC2 instance in a different region. How we will do that? Select this AMI, hit click action. After that, copy this AMI. So I will, when you will copy this AMI, you will have to copy it. We want to copy it to a different region, right? So let's select US East Ohio. I am in North Virginia right now. I want to copy this AMI to US East Ohio. I'm giving it a name, the same name, AMI experiment. If you want, you can give a different name. And after that, if you want, you can also encrypt your snapshot. But I don't want to encrypt snapshot. So just copy this AMI, done. Okay, now this AMI should be copied over there. So let's go to US East Ohio. After that, go to EC2. Then go to AMI. Okay, the status is empty, is still pending, but you can definitely see that this AMI is getting copied to a different region, right? So this is how actually you can copy your, it's like your volume to a different region, your AMI to a different region. And when you will have this AMI, you can, in the same way, you can actually use this AMI to actually launch an EC2 instance in this region. So this is one important thing that we just saw here. So now that, is it copied already? Okay, so we saw volume, we saw snapshot, and we saw AMI. And now we will actually go to security group. So we are using this experiment security group. Let's go inside this security group. So I just saw you, right, before adding this SSH rule here to this security group, we are not actually able to SSH into our EC2 instance. But after adding it, we are able to do it. So the same way, if you want to allow any other traffic, like any HTTP traffic, HTTPS traffic, then how you will do it? Edit inbound rule. Okay, but before that, let's see one more thing. Cancel. Let's go to outbound rule. Outbound rule, we can see that all traffic is allowed. Okay, protocol, all types of protocol for all types of port range, and the destination is this. I mean, to any IPv4 address. That means security group, one thing is very important to remember, that security group actually by default allows all outbound traffic. It allows all outbound traffic. And we just need to create the inbound rules. We don't need to create any outbound rules for a security group. So if you edit inbound rules, then here add rule. After that, suppose we want to allow HTTP traffic. So select HTTP, and then definitely the port is 80, right? For HTTP, for HTTPS it's 449. And then after that, if you that this source can be a CIDR range, this source can be another security group, this source can be any specific IP address. So let's suppose, do we have any other security group? Yeah, we have a lot of security groups, right? So if you want, you can use any CIDR range. This is the CIDR range. If you want, you can use any security group. So let's use a different security group, DevOps class. Okay, so I used a different security group, right? So that it's important to remember that for the security group, the source can be any port, I mean any CIDR range. The source can be a specific IP address. The source can be a security group, etc. And then save rules. So now in the inbound traffic, we can see from the DevOps class security group, any HTTP traffic is allowed to this security group. So it's like it's an integrate relation, right? So you will not understand like this. Just remember that you can change the rules like this. Just remember it for this time. Okay, so we copied the AMI to this region. Is it copied here? Okay, yeah, this is copied here. So if you want it, just selecting it, you can launch more EC2 instance. But I don't want to launch a more EC2 instance. I just showed you that you can do it. So now we show the security group. After that, elastic IP. Okay. So what is this elastic IP and for why we can use it? Okay, elastic IP is, we can actually allocate elastic IP address, and then after that, after allocating the elastic IP address, we can actually associate that IP address with our EC2 instances. So here, if I go to, before actually allocating elastic IP address, go to our EC2 instance, and here we can see this EC2 instance experiment. Now remember our IP address is this 34 to 39 44 57. Okay, I'm just pasting it here so that I can see it later on here. Now if I actually stop this EC2 instance, or if I reboot this EC2 instance, let's reboot this EC2 instance, then let's see what happens. No, so let's do one thing. Let's just stop it first. Stop this EC2 instance. Okay, it's stopping this. So the elastic IP address we can actually use for EC2 instances. Like if I'm stopping this EC2 instance, right? So after stopping this instance, when I will launch this instance again, then the public IPv4 address will not be the same. Yeah, we will get a different public IPv4 address. But if we allocate an elastic IP address, and then associate that elastic IP address with this EC2 instance. Then if then actually that IP address will always be the same, even if we stop this instance and then launch it again. So I will actually show you. Okay, if I launch this EC2 instance again, then we will actually see a different IP address, different IP address. So let's just see. This is the previous IP address, but let's see what happened this time. Okay, here we can see 34,239, but it's right now 54,198. That means our IP address actually changed, but we don't want it to change, right? I mean, if we don't want it to change, then actually we'll have to use an elastic IP address. So here from elastic IP, if you click on allocate elastic IP address and select Amazon's pool of IPv4 addresses and then click on allocate. So we will see here that we have been allocated an elastic IPv4 address here. I mean, yeah, elastic public IPv4 address. So now we want to actually, let's click action and then associate this elastic IP address with our instance. So resource type should be instance because we want to associate this IP address with an instance. Then here choose an instance. So what is this instance? Experiment, right? Okay, so I selected that instance. After that, let's click on associate. Okay, now this elastic IP address is actually associated with our instance. So we can see the associated instance ID here. I mean the ID of that specific instance. We can see it here. So now if I go to the instances, then here if I click here, okay, we can see the elastic IP address here 52, 55, 244, 113. So let's just try to stop this instance first, and then we'll start it again so that we can see whether we have this same IP address or not. This is the IP address, right? Copy it, paste it here so that we can actually match, we can actually compare whether they're the same or not. Okay, now this instance is stopped. We still can see the IPv4 address here. Just start this EC2 instance again. Refresh it. Yeah. The instance state is pending right now. Let's refresh it again. Okay, it's running. This instance is running, but we can still see that we have actually the same IP address, right? 52, 55 to 44 on 13. 52, 55 to 44 on 13. So that's how we can use the elastic IP address. Now, one important thing is that elastic IP address, if you allocate an elastic IP address, then associate that elastic IP address with a running EC2 instance, you won't be charged actually. I mean, if the elastic IP address is in use, if it's in use, then you will not be charged. But suppose you associated that IP address with this instance, and if you terminate this, I mean, if you, yeah, if you stop this instance, then you will be charged because you allocated that IP address, but you are not using it. So Amazon will charge you for in this case. And also, if you terminate this EC2 instance, then you will also be charged, right? Because whatever you are, whether you stop it or you terminate it, you are ultimately not using that elastic IP, so you will be charged. So you have to keep it in mind. Then if you allocate the elastic IP address and don't use it, then you will be charged. But if you use the elastic IP address, then you will not be charged. So after that, placement group. Actually, there are three different types of placement group. We can actually use the placement group to put our EC2 instances in the placement group. So let's go and create placement group. So let's give it the name placement group experiment. And then after that, placement strategy determines how they, okay. So the placement is strategy. There are three different types of placement strategy. The first one is cluster. The first one is cluster. The cluster is not actually that effective, because in cluster, actually all the EC2 instances will be in. It's like they are very close. The EC2, the EC2 instances, they will be actually very close. And for the spread EC2 instances, for the spread placement group, the EC2 instances will be actually spread. They spread, and they will use different power. They will use different power. And if one availability zone, if one EC2 instance it goes down, then we will still have the other EC2 instances, and then we have actually partition. And so partition means we will create some partition. In each of the partition, actually we will put a few EC2 instances in each of the partitions. So it's something like this. So we don't want to actually create it. I just showed you what it is. And then key pair, we definitely created the key pair here, experiment key pair, Gmail KP key pair. Actually, I previously created this key pair, but for this class, I created experiment key pair, right? So this is the key pair. So after this class, actually, I won't need this key pair. And then network interface. Okay, so for the default, yeah. So this is the network interface, elastic network interface for it's this network interface. It's like if you create hit create network interface, then actually you can create a network interface. You will give the name, and then you will definitely need to just subnet, right? Because it's the network interface is like the entry point, right? Like for in our computer, you have a network uh, interface which you will use actually if you use a broadband connection. It's something like this. So this is the network interface. And load balancer, target group, launch configuration, auto scaling group. Actually, we can use them. We could talk about them today, but we have it will be a lengthy class. That's why I don't want to talk about load balancing and auto scaling today, but they are very, very important. I will talk about them later on. So in this class, I talked about instance, I talked about instance type, then launch template is what request, reserve instance, dedicated host, scheduled instance, also capacity reservation. AMI, I did not talk about bundle task. I talked about volume, snapshot. I did not talk about lifecycle manager. I talked about security group, elastic IP, placement group, key pair, the network interface. Then Maybe in the next class I will talk about load balancer or elastic load balancer, and then what is scaling, because they are very important for the exam. So that's it for today's class, and thank you so much. I hope you will learn a lot from this class, and hope to see you guys again in the next class. Thank you. Bye bye.